everybody. My name is Max Farrell. This is the DexFXMarkets.com network. We are on our Dex Atomic system, and we are about to talk about the Dex Delta signals. Now, before you get all too crazy, this is the future of what DexFX Markets is, and I want to talk about the pathway of the Dex Delta signals and what they were and what they've become, which is incredible because most companies, they try to go and reinvent the wheel and reinvent something else and give you a completely different signal system and say it's the clock on the wall this time, or we're going to trade every time the squirrel grabs a new nut and puts it in the ground. We have dissected our immediate process where they first started out was the Dex daily signals. And we have found that utilizing that process of the Dex daily signals, we created the intradays and then we created the TNT signals. These were a little bit sharper each time because we were using patterns that we have found through the Dex daily signals, okay, of a opportunity where the market was considered over time of a high and a low mentality. So we would look for that high and that low. If the market would travel up and surpass it, we would easily see that as a buy, and if it went down below, we found that as a sell. And we use that same mentality for all of these products, just getting sharper and sharper with the way that we came to those conclusions and what arrows we followed and what levels they needed to be at. So we went from the Dex daily signals, created the intradays, the TNTs, and sparked in the Dex Atomic, which was the online system of charts from TradingView. We then created our own indicator that we used over on TradingView, and this is where we sort of turned everything else off because these were no longer needed. This was an analog, archaic way of doing it, and we now found a way to do it not only for ourselves, but for you to do it for yourself as well. So we created a manual system, the Dex Atomic, for you to be able to trade using your own signal on your own chart. We then made it a little bit more automatic, using it for finding out other levels of using what we refer to as a hilt box, high, low, and time. And then created a automation system where we then put out what we call the Dex Atomics. Now, the Dex Atomic system created a process that we could then go down per each and every hour and find out what pairs did well at what levels and what directions and everything else. So creating the Dex Atomics gave us an opportunity to also to be able to create alerts of when these trades were. And it created this process to be able to make our own signal system for ourselves. But what I found out is that this system became very complicated for some people to use. So somebody asked me just to set something up for them. And so we created the Dex Atomic signals. But literally, those never came to life because as we started to drive the signal system out, we found another way to back test and strategy test this process, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. But this Dex Atomic gave birth to the Dex Delta signals. We then learned how to take those signals that we piped in from TradingView and pump them into our Dex signals area, or Dex Delta signals area on Discord. That's a lot of D's, but we then found a good strategy to be able to utilize, and we'll talk about that here in a second as well. But this is what gave birth to the Dex Delta signals. Now, as we built the strategy on what signals to fire, we had to do some back testing. And we back tested our system with our Dex Atomics system that has the back testing system already involved and on board. And we took it with 90 days worth of data and that info, and we found a very easy way to see the profit. We refer to this as profit over percentage, the POP system, which equals what we refer to as delta. Now, what is a delta, if you will? So let us use the example that if we're trading over on Nadex on a sell side 35 and on a buy side 65, we are looking to reward ourselves with $35 every time we win and risk $65. But the true value, because we have to include the fees, are $35 because you got $1 in and $1 out, and 35 minus 2 is 33, which is our $2. And when we lose $66 because they only charge us $1 when we lose because I think they feel sorry for us. But no, it really does make it a 2-to-1 risk to reward because now it's 66 to 33. Okay, so with that, one trade, one win, and 0 losses equals 100% profit. Remember, profit. If you go back one screen, it's profit over percentage, right? So that's what we want. We want profit over the percentage. So even though that the percentage is 100%, which is 1 delta, which equals $33, 10 trades with 8 wins and 2 losses is only 80% with 4 deltas, right? That equals 80%. But that's $132 worth of profit because it's 4 deltas. So delta is the overage of what a trade pack has. Like the overage for a 1 to 0 is only 1, even though that it's 100%. If we went with just ones that were percentage based, we would lose out 3 deltas out of that, you see? So start looking at it at that rate. When we say that that's a 4 delta trade, that's pretty strong, right? Or 4 delta period or 10 delta period, that's a very strong delta system because it yields a lot of profit. Now, not all deltas, even though that they're 4, might be that great. That might be 100 wins and 96 losses, right? And can you handle 96 losses? That's the thing. So we have to kind of keep in mind that the pro forma of that is to keep a good balance of how many trades are being done, how many losses there are compared to how many wins, and what's left over for profit. And is that profit worth it? On a 8-win process, remember, because it's 66, every time we lose $66, so it's 2 to 1. $132 is good for that 10 wins. But if this was 100 wins and 98 losses, then that's really not worth the time and the effort of $132. That'd be like 4 months of work for $132. You get what I'm saying? So you got it. We keep that in mind as we're building out the process. Now, the making of a delta signal pattern is what we just referred to, is that we're looking for the best of the best. Okay? So let me give you an example. If the AUD/USD during a 10 a.m. expiry time has a high rate of success with a 7 delta, remembering that that 7 delta also has to be accompanied by a good relationship of trades. So if there's, say, 20 trades, and there's, out of those 20 trades, there are, say, 21, or actually there's 21 trades, and say there's 14 wins and 7 losses, that's not really a good delta, right? So we were looking for something a little bit better at that point. So we would use the AUD/USD. If it had a 7 delta, then we want to see a good 30 or 40 trades happening, or 20 or 30 trades happening, because that delta then be worth it. So we would give this over like a Euro/USD, which may have a high rate of success of 6 deltas. We would make it that if this would be a delta 1, so the AUD/USD would be a delta 1 because it was the best of that time period of 10 a.m., where the delta 2 would be the Euro/USD sitting at 6 deltas, right? So very simple. 7 deltas for the high, because we're looking for the highest, the best of the high, okay? Now, if there was one that said 50 trades and had 7 deltas and one that said 20 trades and had 7 deltas, we would choose this one that had the 20 trades and 7 delta over the other one, right? So we're looking for the best of the best. So delta 1s are the best of the best for that time period. Now, delta 2s mean that we have another trade that's in there that does pretty well, even if it was the same, had 7 and 7, but this one had a little less losses than this one, we would go with this one more. So keep that all in mind when you're trading. When at the end of the trading pattern, you'll see it says D1 or D2 at it, and we'll give you a breakdown of the signal here in a second. We're going to be looking for that if you're trading a D1, you're trading all of those, and we'll talk about that here next. What to trade? Well, you can trade all D1s, because remember, those are the best of the best per hour, and only one's going, if you're only trading that one, you could never trade more assets in 1 hour than what's there, right? You're not going to have 5 trades happening in that era if you're only trading D1s, okay? Because we're looking for the best of the best during that 1 hour period. It doesn't matter that the Euro/USD is good at that point. If your account, let's say you're trading $65, $66 loss or risk, you want to have at least $660 in your account. So, but you can only afford to trade one contract at a time, or one trade with one contract. If you can do 2 contracts and say like have 1,300, then you could trade D1s and D2s or trade D1s with 2 contracts. That's it. That's how we've created this process. Now, later on, we're going to have D3s, D4s, D5s, all the way up to D6s, and no more than that. But you're going to have the account that if in case something happens, if you're trading every single one. Now, since you're trading them manually, you can decide what you want to do and how many you want to trade. If a D2 fires in a time period, remember that the relationship there is that we're looking for an overall amount of success. And each one of those has a positive delta. So, but you're going to have to trade them for the month or for a long period of time to see that delta perform. It doesn't mean that every trade is going to win. So if you are trading D1s, it's going to take time for the delta to prove itself. So you've got to keep that in mind as you're trading. Our suggestion is to start with D1s and keep those going till you actually get a good sense of them. If you have to increase by 2 contracts at that point, if you make that $660 profit and you go to 2 contracts, then trade that for some more time or until you feel comfortable with your account being big enough to actually trade more trades with D1, D2, D3, and so on. Now, here's what the signal looked like when it gets fired. It has the date, it has the starting time, which should always be about an hour. Since we're only using 1-hour signals here, always an hour before what we refer to as the expiry. So it should have the time, the start time, when it fired, the direction, sell or buy, the pair asset name, Audi JPY in this particular case, the expiry name and time, so 10, so the expiry is 10, and if it doesn't have, this is all done in military time, so 10 is 10 a.m., while 2200 is 10 p.m. Statement, of course, the number of the asset statement price for the Audi JPY or higher, right? So sometimes when we fire off a signal, it doesn't have the exact statement price that's over on Nadex. So we're going to tell you, grab 80.25 or higher. So that means 2.26, 27, 28, up until whenever the next statement price is, okay? Now, on the JPY pairs, we're only going to the second digit. This is considered the pip. On non-JPY pairs, we're going to the 4th digit, which is considered the pip. But again, it's the same, 1.2694 or higher. In this particular example, it's a D2. So now, if you're taking just D1 trades, ignore this trade. Simple. Okay? For another example, let's use the Euro USD on a buy. Okay? So on a buy, we want to grab anything or lower, right? So 2299 or lower. This being the D1 trade, if you're just taking D1s. If you're just taking D1s, you would ignore the second one. But this is the Euro JPY with a 1.27 or 127.15 or lower. So 1.14, 0.13, 0.12, and so on until the next statement down. That's basically it. The DEX Delta signals are born. So in trading, you would simply go into the Discord channel every day that you're going to be trading, and you'll wait for the top of the hour. That's when the signals fire. They don't fire at 1 minute before or 5 minutes after. It's always the top of the hour. You could jump into Discord using your cell phone, a pad, a laptop, your computer. You could do whatever. If you're trading and looking at them manually as well as being in with our DEX Atomics, or you're just waiting, you can also set these up in notification modes easily enough simply by going over the signal system, going over to notification setting, saying all messages for these signals, okay, and simply put in for notifications. You have to make sure that you're on your cell phone app for this process, and you can see how to do that in other videos. But creating the cell phone app for this Discord unit is very easy, and we show you how to do that in the other video for setting up Discord. All right, I'm Max. This is Dex. We appreciate everything that you're doing to be here. And as always, trade well.